Anyway,
Yep.
going to the Royals. The
Yes.
fact that we're talking a little bit about them in the sellers market is a little surprising because they're under 500. But they are, because of the final wild card, and the fact that they're still kind of in go for it mode, and that's the way they've been built. And they haven't played well to this point, or they've underachieved in their opinion. I think underachieved. We all kind of felt like they'd be in the mix. They're slowly. They're slowly, I think, creeping forward in this, and I do think that their best baseball is ahead of them. Bobby Witt did not have a good first couple of months. He's swung it better. Selby has swung it better. Pasquantino's been good. So they don't have offense that really kind of gets you excited. But improving on the fringes for me, it did a little bit. It's not the type of impact that I thought they would need, but they're also holding it together more, I think, with their pitching overall. Their starters, with Bubic going on the injured list, I wondered if that was going to affect them at all, and what they decided to do. Lorenzen does come back. They're going to have a spot start for Dallas Keuchel coming up. Rich Hill's first start was pretty good. So you go, geez, coming up against the Braves, they have Hill and Keuchel. Going back in the Wayback Machine, those two guys getting starts in this series, which is a little bit surprising for me. But, with Lorenzen hopefully coming back healthy and, hopefully Bubic won't be out for a while. We'll see. Reagan's, it sounded like when we talked to Matt Cottrell yesterday, was out probably for another month. It seemed somewhere in that range from what I wrote in my notes. I don't know, GB, if you remembered that, if it was different. I think it was a month that he'd be back. Certainly after the August deadline, or July 31st deadline, the end of this week. But to me, I like the fact that they're at least going for it to some degree. They're not all in. Improving on the fringes is what I felt like they should have been doing, earlier. So the fact that they're doing it now, I give them a lot of credit for it. Whether they can get to the postseason or not, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, and I think the key is, if they can buy the bigger bat that makes a difference, it's just not. It's easier said than done. Now, I know what makes sense is a trade with Boston because Boston's looking for a long-term catcher. The Royals have two in their farm system, right? Blake Mitchell and Carter Jensen that are considered top catchers. They could also trade one of their starters now they've signed Lugo if they wanted to add Cameron in one of the catching prospects and see if a package can't be built around them to land Jarren Duran, who Boston seems to be dangling. Why, I don't know, because I wouldn't trade Duran. But, that kind of deal would be a difference maker for Kansas City. They also match up well with the Tampa Bay Rays, who also have always been looking for that long-term answer catcher. And Kansas City's got a couple of them, and they could trade one of them if they get the right bat there. So I think they're going to be fascinating between now and Thursday. I'm okay with fixing around the edges, but this team needs more than fixing around the edges. They're not making the playoffs with this roster. They just can't hit enough. The problem also you have is you got three teams in the West, and you got three teams in the East that are just better than you. And I just don't see the pathway of this roster, the way it's constructed in Kansas City, with the lack of offense, being able to beat those six teams out. I just don't see it right now. So you got to be careful. So I think any trade you make shouldn't be for 25. I don't think a rental makes sense to me as much as if you can make a trade for Duran where you control him for 3 more years.
Yeah. The rental in Grichuk was in part timing, it feels like, right? Because of the injury to Caglione, and also because, listen, they gave up a reliever who maybe he ends up being a consistent big leaguer, but while he's got decent stuff, he has not shown consistency in the few big league outings that he's had. He's just converted the bullpen this year. And so you understand why they would make that deal, I think, even for the short term, but you're right. And this is something this is not a secret, right? JJ Picollo has been pretty open about talking about this, that the Royals are looking for impact offense somewhere. They tried to sign Anthony Santander this winter. They've tried to find that power, and there are very few windows to be able to acquire from the outside. So acquiring somebody that can help them this year and beyond absolutely makes sense, whether they make the postseason or not. That's why I think it's, they're buyers in the sense that they're looking to add personnel, but it's not maybe necessarily your traditional, hey, we're going to push in on a whole lot of rentals. It absolutely makes sense to how they do that.